Welcome everyone, it's good to see you. So today's topic is the so-called three perceptions. This will be this week's topic actually. And so the three perceptions are a direct gateway to developing wisdom, to develop liberating insight. So these three perceptions are a perception of impermanence, a perception of unsatisfactoriness, a perception of not self. So these are, in short, the three perceptions. And when we cultivate clear seeing, in other words also known as Vipassana, then we cultivate seeing into what is, into reality, from those three viewpoints or from those three angles. We're looking at things through the lens of these three perceptions. You could, for example, just simply observe what is happening. Like, there's a sound outside, or I have a feeling in my shoulder. Then you're just observing it, you're just looking at it. So this will not lead to liberation if you're just observing yourself in the present moment. Just being mindful of washing your dishes, writing an email, just being mindful of that alone is not enough. It will not lead to liberation. It will not lead to an end of suffering. We all have mindfulness already. You have it when you do your thing, when you dance, when you exercise, then you have mindfulness, right? It's like any good athlete has mindfulness. What they do 100%. They're fully concentrated on what they do. They don't think about anything else while they're doing what they do. A dog has mindfulness. Sometimes you see them pick up a scent and then they just cross the street. They're very mindful of the scent to the degree of excluding the street, the cars, anything else. They're just following through there. That is mindfulness, but it is not right mindfulness. Right mindfulness here means is a mindfulness that leads towards release. It's the way you look at things that's important, not just looking at things, not just being aware of things. It's not enough. Many people believe that, you just need to be aware, that's it. Just be aware. Be open and spacious, like the sky. Let your clouds be let your thoughts just be like clouds passing through this empty, open awareness. Awareness is like space. And so we hear all these things, which is true. The nature of mind is like space. Awareness is like space. And everything can pass through it without crashing into any personality or construct that we have. Yes, that is true, but it is something that most people cannot access, to be very honest. You might idealize a certain teaching and feel like, wow, this is so powerful, this is so profound, and yet still you get upset and angry and hung up on things, and still you have preferences. You say, this is good, this is bad. I like this one, I don't like that one. I'm such and such person, and I follow this and that teacher, I don't follow this and that teacher. That's not really it. That's not really it. Just being open, spacious, and aware. Yes, okay, let's say that would be it, yes. But accessing that is very difficult. It's not just done like that. Even if you hear very inspiring teachings, which is good and advisable, and you should. If you want to progress on the path, you should listen to teachings and go deeper into it. Don't mistake an initial glimpse of this awareness, if you do have one, if your mind becomes actually quiet enough to really see through, as the end, as the ultimate goal. That has to be developed, it has to be kind of carved out properly. So that's why we have a practice, have a spiritual practice. Otherwise it would be just this one recognition and you're totally free from suffering. Right? But this is something that you cannot lie to yourself. You cannot pretend that you're free from suffering. Because you know for yourself whether you're free from suffering or not, right? And if you're still feeling suffering, well then there is still work to be done. Just observing suffering is not enough. It will not cut the chase. It is a method that it's very popular nowadays. Just observe it. Just look at it. It's not enough. You have to look at it in a very specific way to actually experience what we call liberation from stress, liberation from suffering. And so these three perceptions are that way to look at things. And in many different traditions, they are called different ways. Or there might be a different kind of approach. So these are three ways of looking. Each one leads to liberation. Each one has the potential to liberate you from stress and suffering. So let's start with the first one, the perception of impermanence. All those three perceptions, by the way, should be happening within this moment. Right now, right here. Not as a general thing. Yeah, generally, kind of life is impermanent. It doesn't last. That doesn't work. Yeah, it has to be right here and now. So what is it that is going on right here and now? Well, basically just 6 things. Sound, sight, smell, taste, feeling, and thought. That's it. That's all there is. There's not more to life. And just sound, sight, smell, taste, feeling, and thought. And we want to see this moment in these terms. See that's all there is right now. There might be sounds. You might be hearing sounds outside. Can you see them as just sounds? First step. It's just sound. Then you're already cultivating, to a degree, you're cultivating wisdom. You're seeing things as they are. Well, sound is sound. You're not seeing it as what it is not, like annoying sound or bad sound and good sound. You see that it is sound, period. You're not making anything more out of it mentally. For a heavy metal fan, when they hear the sound of metal music, it causes bliss. For a fan of New Age music, heavy metal causes suffering. You put on heavy metal music and is the suffering in the music? Is the bliss in the music? Well, to the heavy metal fan, it very much appears as if there was bliss in the music, and all the heavy metal fan needs to do is consume the music to get to the bliss. So they turn it on and they feel good. Then they think it comes from the music, right? Like as you might feel that if someone else speaks with you and you're feeling bad because they're speaking something seemingly bad, then it's because of them that you feel bad. It's because of what they say. That's because of the way you receive what they say. And that is very dynamic. That could be really any way. You could receive what anyone says in any way. If, for example, you say something to someone and there is no response, for a people pleaser, this is suffering. No response. That means I am bad. They don't like me. Right? And for someone that is more like an aggressive kind of person, they say, well, they don't respond, what an asshole. For someone else, it's a different kind of response, right? But it's not within the response or the no response. It's the way we react to it, the way we see it, and how it fits into the existing framework of our personality. So sound is just sound, essentially. Train yourself to see it like that. It takes a little while. And in Thailand there is plenty of practice. You can just practice. Your neighbor singing karaoke is just sound. For a baby there is no problem in that. They can still sleep. Because for them, they don't have the conception yet, oh, these freaks with their stupid karaoke songs, they don't make anything more out of it. For them, it's just, yeah, well, there's not much thought about it. So they can still sleep while we're lying in our bed wide awake, angry. And it's that anger that doesn't allow us to sleep. It's not the neighbors. It's anger. We cannot sleep because we have aversion. We're angry. That's why. Looks like it's the neighbors. And when it really happens, it really looks like it's the neighbors. But it's not. That's an illusion. It's not really the neighbors. It's our mind. And it's just simply boils down to the fact that we don't know how not to suffer. We just don't know. How can I not suffer this? For most people, they don't have a choice. They just have to suffer it. Not so for someone that is really practicing meditation. They have a choice. They say, well, I'm suffering this one. Do I have to? Could I still relax? That's an option. Well, if you can train yourself to see sound as sound, to experience smell as just smell, taste as just taste, feelings as just feelings, that's a tough one. Particularly with unpleasant feelings. It's very difficult to see them as just energy, as just feelings, just electricity really. On top of that, just electric habits in the body. Not necessarily the truth. And then thoughts. Well, thoughts are just thoughts. That would be already amazing if you can just see that. If you can see your own thoughts as just thoughts. Oh, just thoughts. Well, then you're not buying into them anymore. You see them for what they are, just thoughts. Now that's the basis for applying the three perceptions. You want to see things as they are. That requires a calm, quiet mind. So when your mind is calm and quiet, you can see this comes and it goes. It's sound, feeling, thinking. It comes and it goes. It comes and it goes. Here we're already coming into the first perception, impermanence. You see everything as arising, changing, passing. As flux, as process, as something that is not stable at all. There's not one feeling in your body that is stable. If you really look into it, you can see that very clearly. There's not one feeling that is stable. Sometimes they get carried away by an emotional feeling, right? I have an emotion coming up, and then I feel the emotion in my body, and then suddenly I remember, it's a feeling. And problem solved. It's just a feeling. And it is nourished by the way I think. If I think negatively, then the feeling tends to go into a negative direction. And then the negative feeling nourishes negative thoughts. And if I just stop right there and I see, feeling, thinking, feeling, thinking, feeling, then I have a chance to see that it doesn't really last, any of it. The thoughts don't last. The feelings don't last. And we need to have a calm enough mind to see that it changes literally from microsecond to microsecond. It's very fast, like a river. There is nothing stable in a river, nothing. There's not one single molecule that is not vibrating. Everything is constantly changing and shifting. That is the first insight. Then seeing it once, is it enough? Like you go, look, and suddenly kaboom, and you see, wow, it doesn't last. Is that enough? No. You have to see into it again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Then we need to train to sustain this insight. So that you're seeing that things arise and pass for a sustained period of time and throughout your entire day, seeing everything continuously as arising and passing, arising and passing, arising and passing, training yourself just consistently like this for a long time until it makes click. Something changes for good. You're not buying into it anymore. You're not fooled into believing that, oh, this is good, this is great, or this is bad, this is so bad. How could you believe that? Because nothing is stable. Right now there's all over Phuket, it's very, very low season at the moment, nothing going on. And so many business owners are like, oh my God, it has never been that low. You hear it all over the place. It's change. And then the mind has this tendency to build up on that change and say, well, oh my God, it's all going downhill for good. No, it's breathing in, out, in, out. Oh, we want to stay open in that, even if it's difficult sometimes. Just need to stay open and relaxed. Just keep looking at change. Fear is impermanent. Happiness, joy, looking forward to something is impermanent. Constantly seeing it in these terms, and you're seeing it in terms of truth. So you're not getting carried away by either shift. If it's getting a bit bad in life, then you're still at ease. Because for you there isn't really bad. There is no stable thing that you can call bad. It doesn't exist. Because you always have a choice how to see it. And if you see it through the eye of impermanence, then that's the ultimate one. You see it very clearly. Oh, there is no need to hold on to any idea here. So you're quite relaxed. We're very, very caught up with impermanent things. It's one of the major causes of this trouble that we experience on this planet, which is very consistent trouble. It's human history. And where does all that trouble come from? It comes from inner trouble. And inner trouble comes from holding on to things that you like, that you think are really, really good. Then you hold, and then you're disappointed when they change. You marry that person, and then a little bit later a person turns out not to be the way you thought they would be, always. Surprise. People change, things change, opinions change. We have multiple characters coming out throughout the day. You wake up as a specific character, you go to shower as a specific character, you have your coffee as a specific character. Multiple characters. You talk to your best friend, you talk to someone you don't know, different character. Constantly changing, according to circumstance. And that's okay. It's precisely the reason why we can relax. Because nothing lasts. You could also choose to freak out because nothing lasts. But then again, you have a look at the freaking out mind and you see, oh, freaking out also doesn't last. That's how it works, right? And in the beginning you look at this, it's like, oh God, my relationship will not last. And then you're scared. It's like, no, but I want it to last. And then you see that you have fear all of a sudden. Then you look into the fear. Does that last? Fear. Oh no, it doesn't last either. It stops. Then you get bored. You're bored. Total boredom. You just sit there as nothing is going on. Oh God, this meditation is boring, says the mind. No, there's just boredom. And I guarantee you, if you look into it, it will not last either. And then you start to become a bit anxious. Oh my God, nothing lasts. Oh God, I mean seriously, nothing lasts. Feel a bit like the rug is pulled underneath your feet. Well, that one will also disintegrate. It will also not last. The fear, the anxiety, anything you feel, look at it in these terms. Second perception is the perception of unsatisfactoriness. That's one way to translate the term dukkha, Dukkha means often translated as suffering, as stress, as tension, as unsatisfactoriness. Many translations, probably the most accurate one would be something that is hard to bear. Tension is also a pretty good one. Tension. And so when you see that everything comes and goes and comes and goes and comes and goes, then you start to slowly see how you relate to what comes and goes. And it is always through the act of craving, trying to. Something comes and then it goes, and then there is someone that tries something there. You try to make it stable, you try to make it safe, you try to make it last, you try to live your life, you try to feel differently. There's a lot of trying there. And it's pretty stressful. And you start to actually see that after a while, like as a reality, not as a philosophical concept. Right now, for many of you, it might be a philosophical concept. You hear that for the first time and you're like, okay. So I see something arising and passing, and then I'm supposed to feel that this is unsatisfying. No, you're not supposed to feel anything there. But the realization of what this is, it comes after a while. You see, like, since there is nothing that lasts, nothing can grant satisfaction, therefore. That's simple logic, but you want to feel this, taste it. And tasting that is not necessarily pleasant at all. Because everything you're building upon in life turns out to be unreliable. Can be a bit of a shock. Oh, it's all unreliable. Where does it lead? We don't know. Could be good, could be bad. Who knows? Like the famous story goes, right? Good, bad, who knows? We don't really know what's going to happen, and if it will be good or will it be bad, or it will definitely not be satisfying. That's a guarantee. Whatever it is, emphasis on the word it, not on I, whatever I am, but whatever it is, it will not satisfy you. Relationship, no chance. It will not satisfy you. Good food, it will not satisfy you. A nice conversation, it will not satisfy you. So when you really start seeing that, what question would come to your mind? And you see that, oh, there's another one, unsatisfying. Another one, unsatisfying. Oh God, another feeling, unsatisfying. After a while of looking like this, what kind of question will come to your mind?
What is satisfying?
Yes. Then what is satisfying? And that's a good question. Because that's the question that then really leads to a profound spiritual path that is goal-oriented. You're not anymore looking just for some, whatever, quick fix. But you want to get out of what is unsatisfying. Now you become really earnest in your seeking. I really want to get out of being continuously unsatisfied. No matter where I turn, no matter what I do, it's not satisfying. It's a bit frustrating. The more you see that, the more frustrating it appears. The more frustrating it appears, the more you're looking for relief. Where can I find true peace? Now you're meditating for all the right reasons. You're meditating for the reason of finding true inner peace, unshakable, not subject to circumstance, not enslaved to conditions, but completely free. No matter how the world is, no matter where you are or what you go through, you are totally at peace. Happy, at last. And so we see that very clearly. The more we see that, it doesn't matter where I turn and what I try in my meditation practice, I'm ending up just Well, the same old position is just constantly changing. And I'm trying for years to make it right. But there is no right. Or, to say it in the terms of duality, where there is a right, there has to be a wrong. And if you're aiming for one, you include the other. You're aiming for birth, you're aiming for death. You can't separate them. You're aiming for relationship and coming together, you're also including separation. It's in the package. Small print. We're aiming for good health. Guess what it includes? The more worried we are about good health, the more scared we are about illness. And it will come with certainty. And so, it's kind of no way out situation. So where do I turn for real relief? Well, the answer is within. And I don't mean to the changing mind again. Many thoughts and conceptions and ideas and visualizations and goal finding and all that, no. It has to transcend this kind of stuff. So then you become a true spiritual seeker. In Tibetan language, the word for Buddhist is called a Nangpa. Nangpa means someone that is within. Nang means inside. It means an insider, really. A Buddhist in Tibetan language is an insider. Someone that is looking on the inside. And what does it mean on the inside? When I told you, look within, what do you do? What's the action that follows? What should you do with your life? Well, the answer is within. Look within. What do you do now? Many people, they kind of look into the darkness of their own mind and they're like, okay, now, and then they find a lot of chaos. A lot of thoughts and emotions and undigested stuff on the inside. And then sometimes they give up. Say, oh, no. Looking within is not for me. There's nothing to be found there. Well, looking within means looking at the looker. Not at stuff. It means to see the one who sees. That means looking within. You're turning the light of awareness around and you shine it upon itself. That is looking within. Looking within doesn't mean looking at a bunch of thoughts or ideas or beliefs.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
What do you see when you look within?
When I look within, well, I'm looking at the looker. That's it. You cannot think it through. You cannot think it through. That has to be an experience. So after a while, you become more and more aware that there is awareness. Let's frame it like that. And the awareness is right now, right here, actively looking at phenomena, including the body and the mental stuff that goes on. Like trying to figure something out right now. How is that? What do you see when you look within? Let me figure that one out. There's something that wants to figure that out, but even that can be seen. You can become aware of that. And so you step back and back and back. It's one method. Just always becoming aware that there is something as conscious of whatever you're experiencing right now. There's something as conscious. Whatever you're experiencing right now, you are aware of it. You are not what you are experiencing. That's what's liberating. There's a gap in between what you experience and the knowing of what you experience. Awareness, consciousness, call it what you mind. And so we come to the third perception of so-called not self, anatta. Well, not self here means to see that whatever arises and passes cannot possibly be me. It's like you're standing on a train platform and train after train comes. The anger train, the happy train, the thought train, the depression train. Lots of trains. The body train, the mind train. None of those trains is who I am. But when you hop onto one of those trains, you believe you are that train that you're riding. But this is not true. Awareness has this kind of, I don't really want to call it ability, but let's call it ability for now, to get lost in something. Like when you're watching a movie, then you tend to get lost in the movie, you completely forget your body, you completely forget that you're watching it. And so what happens? When the hero gets shot, you cry. Because you totally forgot that it's just a movie. And about 10 times worse is what happens in our head, the head movie. Our thoughts, our beliefs of who we are, who we should be, how others are, how they should be. That's ultimately like a thought movie, and we're very lost in it. We have no distance to it. So we don't see it. We feel much more like we are it. I don't see the voice in my head, I feel that's me who talks. That means we are lost in that. There is no separation, no gap in between what I see and the seeing itself. And that gap is what we call not self. You see, oh, since I see the voice in my head, I can't be it. I've said that many times, but there's a voice in your head that is talking constantly, right? Now, who is listening to it? And then spontaneously would say, me, right? I'm listening to it. But then you would also say, well, who is talking? Me. Now, do you see the craziness about this? Do you see the problem with this? How many of you are there? There's a talker, I'm the listener. That's kind of almost a definition of mental being nuts in our mind, actually. Yeah? I love myself. I hate myself. It's almost as if there were two. But is that the truth? Is that the truth? And so that there's one sense of me that's a bit more real than the other one. That's the listener. There's a voice in your head, and that voice is simply like a recording. It's just society and culture and all that kind of stuff, your upbringing. It just speaks in the head. It just speaks on repeat. And then there can be a listener to that. There's a voice in my head. It talks all the time. That's almost like a first waking up. And then you simultaneously realize, I am not that voice. The voice is not who I am. What does that imply? Isn't that amazing? You're not the voice in your head. What's the voice in your head then? It's just recordings that just run on repeat, like a broken record. And every day we keep filling more and more information in. That is unavoidable, by the way. Even if you live in a cave, you will fill information into your head every day. And so it just spins around and around. So someone living in a cave has a cave kind of voice. It's about cave stuff. And someone living in an office has an office kind of voice. It's about office stuff. But if I take any one of you and I put you into a pub at night where there are lots of men and they all watch football and get drunk, then your voice will talk about that one. Maybe the next day it talks about men watching football, getting drunk in the pub. That's where the voice in our head comes from. It comes from what we see, hear, feel, taste, touch, smell, all that. It fills content in. And so knowing that you're not the voice in your head is very liberating. It's very liberating. Because then you don't need to buy into it anymore. It's just the product of circumstance. I can also just relax, actually. I don't have to feel like I am that voice, because I know I am not. That has to become a very true, powerful knowledge. The same is true for emotions, the same is true for your body, knowing that you're not the body, that the body is just its own thing, really, like a tree, like other bodies, just a body. Not my body, not me. Emotions, not my emotions, not who I am, just emotions. They come and they go. Not my thoughts, not who I am, but just thoughts. And that leads to, ultimately, peace. You can say the whole spiritual path is, in one way, just becoming more and more intimate with what is right now. Understanding it more and more. Rather than trying to figure life out, you look at it right here, right now, and you understand, oh, there's nothing much to it. Might as well just relax. I don't have to worry about trying to be different. I don't have to worry about figuring anything out. And that is a real, real insight that is based on deeply seeing clearly what is as it is. So you go beyond anxiety, beyond stress. Nothing to figure out. No one else to be. You're at ease with yourself. And seeing that once is not enough. You have to continuously dwell as that. That's the practice, right? It's simultaneously practice and not practice. What are you practicing for? Who's practicing? That you let go. And then you stay there longer and longer. And that will lead to some of the most profound changes that you will ever experience. Giving up future, giving up past, that's a big, big task. Are you ready for that? Completely surrendering your future and your past. Like really giving it up. That's what that implies. But it's not that you're losing anything, by the way. You're gaining everything. As long as you're chasing a future, you live in poverty. You have nothing. Because future is never there. That's a poor man's way of living life. Chasing after the non-existent. Chasing after the future, after the past. Chasing after something else. You will never find yourself that way. As long as you're looking for something else, you will not find yourself. As long as you're not finding yourself, there is no peace. So many people are afraid to give up because they think they lose. It's the opposite. You gain. You gain peace, happiness. It's all right there. I'm not a big fan of painting a path as something dreadful, or, it's giving up, you have to renounce the world. It very often is misunderstood also. You're getting so much from giving up. The more we give up, the more happiness there is. The more you find yourself, the more you are at peace. So if you make that your life's purpose, the only thing that you really strive for, giving up all that's not true, Yeah, you will have a life that is really well lived. And everything you ever need will be provided. Always. There is no need for fear. Okay? So that's pretty much all that comes to mind for today.